Alright, now we're back again. As you can see, we are done completing our HTML sheet. And obviously we could not give it to the customer like this because this would probably be terrible. Our customer definitely wouldn't buy this. So now let's create the CSS sheet. So right now I have a style.css sheet here. All I did was file, save as, style.css, and I saved it in the same folder as the index.html. So on my left side of the screen I have my HTML files, so I can look at the different classes so I can add them to the style sheet. So the first thing we're going to do is do an @char set, and we're going to do UTF-8. Now, if you want to learn more about what this is, you can definitely check out wfreeschools.com, and they'll give you a little bit more of a definition of what the char set means, and they can definitely explain it better than I can, but that needs to be there. And we're going to do CSS document, and we're going to designed by Stephen Garbisi, and we're going to add another star slash, and the first thing we're going to do, if we look here, is our body. We're going to need to style our body, and the only thing we're going to have in our body is basically a background. So let's create that right now. We're going to name the background, and it's going to be background color, and the background color is going to be this color that I already picked for this specific style sheet. Alright, so that's all we got to do for the body, and the body's done. So far right now, if I save this file, save as, and if I go into our HTML document, open it up, our background now has that gray color. Alright, so that's the last time I'll go back to the browser until we finish it, but that's just to show you what happens when you start styling with your CSS sheet. Okay, so now we're going to add some general rules. But before we do that, let's make a note here, and I'm going to just do the number sign cross like that, make a little block here, and just do this, and we'll add this again. Oops. And this is basically here for anybody who basically is going to be coming into our code to add maybe style changes. They basically know where they're at, so they're going to know that this is the general template or Romeo template rules. Ta-da! And again, we'll make this little block, and yeah, why not? We'll get a little bit fancy. Make sure that it goes to the end. Whatever. And let's do that. Alright, and there we go. So now we know this is our general template rules. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look over here at our style, and as you can see, our first class is a wrapper overall. So for the wrapper overall, we're going to do a dot. Anytime there's a class, you add a dot wrapper overall, and we're going to call that right here. Again, we're going to add these brackets and hit enter, and we're going to do the width, and this width, I believe I want it to be 978. At least that's what it said in my Photoshop file, so hopefully I got these dimensions correctly. So our margins, it's going to be 0 pixels obviously, and we want to set this to auto. Oops, 0 pixels auto, right? Alright, and that's it. So that's all we gotta do for our wrapper. So 978, that means if the screen size is bigger than 978, it will stay within this width dimension. So let's get down and let's look. So now you're starting to understand why I have all these classes, because we're gonna start styling it so we could tell our browser where to place these images at. So the next thing we're gonna do is our header class. Okay, and what we're gonna do is just header, and I'm gonna do actually how do I want to do this? Do I want to do a header image? Yeah, you know what? I'm going to just do the header image. Let's just do this. So header.image.logo. I'm going to go through this pretty quick, and then I'll explain what I'm doing. Image.logo. It's going to be float. We're going to make this float, and it's going to be top left. And then we're going to do a margin. And by the way, I spelled float wrong, so this be margin 0 pixels left. No, 0 pixels auto, be that margin, and of course float needs to be spelled right, so there we go, float. And now let's do our next thing, which is going to be dot header image dot Facebook, and again we'll add our brackets, and we'll do float top left, and again we'll add our margins. And this is one of the things I do like about Sublime Text is that basically with Sublime Text it actually sometimes gives you some references, which is really good. So let's do 0 pixels, 20 pixels, 15 pixels. And by the way, this image logo, we're gonna actually change this margin. See how this is one thing I like about Sublime Text, it actually pops up. So if you you really don't have to type the whole word out. So margin, and we'll make this 15 pixels by 0 pixels by 20 pixels by 15 pixels. By the way, if you need to figure out these dimensions, you can just look in your Photoshop file, and that's of course that's all another story about how you lay out your Photoshop file. But if you lay out your Photoshop file correctly with the right dimensions and so forth, you can find out the dimensions for your image, where it would be on the screen and so forth. So that's how I'm getting these dimensions. I got these from Photoshop. So yeah, again, if you want me to do a tutorial on how to create a Photoshop layout or a PSD layout for a website, I could do that. But right now we're just doing the HTML and CSS, and all these dimensions I'm taking from that Photoshop file. Alright, and again we're going to write float, and again it's going to be top, it's going to be left, and then again the margin for this is going to be, what is it going to be? 15 pixels by 0 pixels by 20 pixels by 15 pixels. By the way, these are all going to be the same for these links, so let's just do something to save us some time here. You'll see I do this a couple times in this tutorial, and I just need a name. This convention, so instead of Twitter, this would be Google, and instead of Twitter again, this would be map. Alright, and let's just enter down a little bit. Let's bring this up. Alright, here we go. Alright, so now line 44. Okay, let's see here. Now we're going to do the phone number. And if you remember, our phone number is this big number right here. So phone number, and again we're going to add a bracket, and again we'll do margin, and from what the Photoshop file told me, that these margins are this dimension. So hopefully the Photoshop file, the PSD file I'm using for this template I made, hopefully I use the right cell count. If not, these margins are going to be terrible off, but I'm crossing my fingers right now that they're not. And let's do our phone number again, and this one's going to be the H1, I believe, for the phone number. It is. And this is when we come in and we can style the font. So we're going to say font family, and the font family is going to be Arial. There you go. Helvetica. These are like the standard font families you can use. And sans serif. If I spell that right. Don't look like I did. But they're conventional font families. Then we'll say font size. For this particular image, it's going to be 45 pixels. And we'll say the font color. From the Photoshop file, it says EE5734. Alright. So there we go. Now we got the Now we got the phone number, and we got the phone text and font size. Next we're gonna do dot phone number. And actually our phone number doesn't have another thing, so actually we're fine at this point. So let's now go into our next step, which is going to be our H1. So I'm going to do that header, and I believe we do have an H1 text, do we? No, we don't. So not have to worry about anything else. Let me just make sure. I closed out of the header. Alright, so what I'm looking at is to make sure that I don't need to put any header stuff here, and I don't think I do, so I should be fine. So we'll not put any more. But what I definitely need is a header info tab, I think, but I can't call a header info, but don't have that there. I think I'm done with the header. Alright, so let's see what we could do here. So let's go to dot nav main. So let's do that first. Nav main, right? That's the thing we're gonna get to now. So let's go to the nav main. So we did our phone number. Now we're going to our nav main. Our nav main is going to be a background, and the color is of course going to be what was provided thanks to the Photoshop template I made, and this should be the color. 4 and background. Then we're just gonna do a height, and this is going to be, actually I spelled height wrong, so it's going to be HEIGHT. Height's going to equal 68 pixels. The width is going to be 986 pixels. The margins, we don't really put margins in there because we're fine. Padding, we do want to put some padding, so padding will be 1 pixel by 0 pixel, oops, not 9, 0 pixels by 0 pixels by 0 pixels, and that'll be our padding. And our font size, I guess 12 pixels, we'll add that for our font size, and that will be our nav main. Now actually what we're going to want to do is, now we got our general rules. Now we're going to go and basically put in our navigation main rules. So let's go in here, drop this in, and we'll say general navigation, NAVIGAT rules. And now we'll start our navigation rules. So nav main, of course, is there. And let me see here. Let's see. And we got some ULs and LIs, right? Romeo menu. Some LI. Let's see what I want to do here. Let's try to be quick so we can get through this. Alright, so nav main, interesting. You know what? We're actually going to take this out. So I'm going to take this out, this class, because we don't need it. And now what we'll do, is we'll add a dot nav main and ul, and now we'll do is list style type. All right, and we'll say none. We don't want no style type for that list. And then the margins will be 0 pixels, and padding 0 pixels, and overflow will be hidden, and that's going to be for our unordered list. And then we're next going to have to do is we're going to have to go to nav again, nav main ul li, and again we're going to have to do float. We want this to float the left. We want this to float left, this navigation. And the next thing we want to do for this navigation, as if you thought we were done, but we're not done yet, is nav main ul li, oops, li, put that out, li, a, and then link, comma, a, visitted. And so basically when it hovers, when your mouse hovers over this, it's going to be the link visit. And we're going to display something here. We're going to display a block. That's the first thing we're going to do. We're going to display this block, and we're going to do a width of this box. And this width of this box will be 147 pixels. I'm not done yet. And the font weight is going to be bold in this box. And the font size in this box is going to be 20 pixels. And the color is going to be this. It's going to be like a white. Alright. And the background. Alright, it seems like a lot of stuff here. Background color. We're going to name the background color of this. And let me look at this. The background color is going to be 98 BF21. And the text is of course going to be align and center. Text align is going to be center. And I'm going to enter down a little bit so we get this up to the top, so I'm not seeing all this other code. Anyways, text align center, and our padding will be 25 pixels. Ta-da! And our text decoration, look at that. This is another reason why I like Sublime Text, just pops right up. And we're going to say none for that. And our font family, there we go, right there, how about that? Is going to be Arial, A-R-I-A-L, Arial, Helvetica, and Sans, right? Sans Serif. And I know why it's doing it, that's why. And I believe I had the same problem up here, so we'll fix this real quick. There you go. Perfect. Perfect. Alright, so now we got that done. And let's close out of this like that. And our next thing is going to be, let's see. Okay, nav main ul li, and again we're going to hover this. Write this again. Hover. This is when it hovers over, and it's active. So we want to make sure it remembers this when it's active. And then what we're going to say here is the background when it's active is going to be the color of this, which is, okay, let's look at our Photoshop file. It's SA991A. And that's what it's going to be for the background color. Alright. Next, what we're going to do is wrap the links. Alright, so these links are going to be wrapped together in this UL order list. And let me see here. How do I want to do this? Actually, Yeah, that's actually it. So that's all we have to do there. So we're completely done, and now we're going to add a new rule. There we go. I hope you're following me. Again, type everything that you see on the screen, and I'll try to keep going into it. So here we go. Now we're going to take this